Mrs. Green Apple, the Attitude album, we have finally made it to the final track in our track by track listen through. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Folktale. This is a really interesting moment because I had not expected that I was going to be doing a entire track by track listen through, but I really enjoyed the singles that I heard before doing this, so I decided, well, I'm going to get a better idea for the band, jumped into it, and yeah, it's been a fascinating listen. It's been a fascinating listen. I feel like I've learned a lot more about the band. As always, I'm very honest about my opinions, so I feel like there's things I've learned about the band that have really opened my eyes and made me go, yeah, okay, there's more to this than I expected. Things I've really enjoyed. I've also found there's certain points in the sound that are maybe things that maybe I'm not as big a fan of as some of the fans, but I'll be honest, as a general, this has been an experience of just genuinely, well, just finding it to be a really awesome, eye-opening experience, and also a look into a band who are so quintessentially at the forefront of the music scene that I adore the most. And yeah, I've said this, I cover everything from, the smallest live house bands with only a couple of hundred subscribers or less, all the way up to, the biggest names, your YOASOBIs, your Atarashi Gakos, your Anos, your Ados, and of course, Mrs. Green Apple. So it's been an absolute pleasure. Now, when it comes to Folktale, as always, I don't just listen to the song, I also consider how this fits in the context of the album. So we're listening to a big final song on a 17-track album. I do remember saying that when we started off with the intro, I thought the intro was a bit weird. I didn't think it was it was a bit of a weird intro. I wasn't massively a fan of that. Of all the things I've heard so far on the album, maybe the intro is probably the bit I would consider to be the weakest. Just the whole way it went into that first song felt a bit strange. However, I will say that I'm hoping they end on a bit of a flourish, because we've just come out of Circle, which was obviously such a beautiful song, stripping back to just vocals and piano. So that sets you up perfectly as your penultimate song for a big fun finale. I don't know. I would take a guess at 4.5 minutes that Folktale is probably going to be some kind of anthemic final sing along to finish. That would be my guess. I've been wrong about these things in the past, but I'm gonna put my. I'm not a gambling man, but I'm going to put my money on that. My proverbial money that doesn't exist. I'm going to put it on that. Let's see. Folktale. I have a little bit of a clue in the name, don't I? Let's see if Folktale is a bit of a folk song. Nice, delicate start. So building up the rhythm straight away. All right, let's go. I love the sound of a really deep left-hand piano. It's such an impactful sound. Really building up the tension here. Okay. Loving the rhythm. Yeah, we're definitely going anthemic. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. I like that mixture of like raw piano and vocal sounds with like a really digital style beat and some cool little vocal effects. It's a nice mixture of like raw and sharp, along with like affected and produced. It's an interesting balance of sounds. Yeah, it's lovely to hear such a melodic song backed up with such a cool rhythm. That mixture of piano and acoustic is really nice. That's cool. I like that little bit as well. You know, this really has the right mood for an album closer. You can imagine this over the closing titles of a movie. It's an interesting breakdown. You can already hear the choral vocals coming in. It's your big final sing along. I love that little acoustic guitar. You can just hear delicately hanging off the notes on the side. I say acoustic guitar, it's like it's somewhere between a mandolin and a harpsichord going on over there. That was a really good way to finish an album. I think it also follows on beautifully from Circle, because again, this song is very much, it almost feels like it builds, like it almost feels like it walks straight out of Circle. Like, you know, Circle almost is like the setup for this in a very literal way, because this song again really is centered on piano and vocals, but in a very different way. Here, the vocal is not so much isolated for you to hear every single nuance of the performance, so much as it is this sing-along thing that clearly, you know, becomes choral. You get backing vocals in the chorus, so that you can imagine people singing along, you know, everyone, you know, singing along to it, pumping their fists in the stadium, kind of, you know, that arena rock kind of vibe there. The piano here, again, quite simple, but what it's doing is it's very much, you know, I love that deep left-hand piano where instead of having a bass line, we've got the piano, which gives this kind of raw, tangible kind of low-end sound and just marks out every chord and then moves up. And so it means that you really get like a punch to every chord. But rather than it being a low bass note, it's something which is, it's kind of low down. It has that bite, but at the same time doesn't like interrupt the flow of the rhythm of the song. Yeah, it's sort of like marking out and giving emotional punch to each chord as each chord builds up, but it isn't itself interrupting the bass of the, you know, the lowest ends of the song, which is where we get that kind of rhythm. And the rhythm here is kind of like a relatively fast moving drum beat. You know, it's, again, I like the choice to make this an electric drum beat because of the fact that it's a beat you want, it's quite quick, it's quite rhythmic, but you don't want it to be sort of like a punk beat, which is like kind of overpowering everything. It's fast moving, it's very clear, it's very snappy, you can hear it because it's an electric beat, it cuts through, but it's also an electric sound that is not so big, full and thick sounding as a full drum kit would sound. It's kind of like, it's EQ'd down so that it's got like the low end that it needs. You can kind of feel the rhythm, but it's not overpowering everything. You know, it's making it clear that this is a song that wants you to bob your head quickly, even though you're hearing these sort of slow moving chord patterns. The rhythm's letting you know, yeah, that's the case, but keep your head bobbing quickly because this is a song that's, you know, it's not a complacent, lazy sounding song. It's a song that's got a little bit of purpose. It's got a little bit of drive. And I like that, you know. We've got little bits of sounds of, again, I love the soundscaping in these songs. Love that you hear these little things appear, like these little small sounds that give a really individual character to each of the songs just by picking interesting sounds. Here we got like some spaced out kind of synths happening in the background, but then also you got that weird, like I say, it's kind of like an acoustic string sounding thing. I don't know, it sounded a little bit like somewhere between a mandolin and a harpsichord. I'm not quite sure what that would be. I've got some ideas of instruments I can imagine in my head. There's one that I think it might be, but I don't know what the name of that thing is. It's kind of like like a dulcimer. Yeah, it's a bit like a dulcimer. Yeah. So it sounds like that's the one I was like, yeah, it sounds like a dulcimer, which is you've got a hammer dulcimer, but then you've also got a normal dulcimer. Anyway, but if you don't know what a dulcimer is, look it up. It's a beautiful sounding instrument. I actually really love the sound of dulcimers, but I don't know why. It just isn't an instrument I get to think about very often. Now I'm thinking of that. I used to have a dulcimer years ago, a very small one, but I wish I had a dulcimer again now. Anyway, yeah, it sounds like a little dulcimer sound in the background there, which is a really interesting sound, really beautifully used in here, whether it be that instrument or not. Yeah, I personally felt that this struck this interesting chord of being emotionally impactful whilst also kind of light and nostalgic. You know, it really, really sort of struck a note by hitting all the chords with a lot of impact and having a big anthemic feeling, but not being overpowered by too much symphony and grandeur. It was a song that managed to feel impactful whilst also keeping that light, nostalgic, kind of human quality. As I say, a use of electric sounds that gave the song a sort of sense of bite and rhythm and urgency, whilst at the same time having those very tangible sounds like the deep piano, obviously the vocal, the layered vocal, and that sort of dulcimer-esque, maybe dulcimer sound as well. That balance of the cuttingly programmed, the effect, the atmospherically synthetic, and whilst at the same time having those very tangible human sounding instruments that kind of play towards the more nostalgic aspect of the song, the more ballad-esque, you could say, almost say, aspect of the song. That was just lovely that the song was built on that kind of very well managed juxtaposition. And it carried it off. I mean, as I say, it definitely worked in a way that made it feel like it could be the song that plays over the closing credits of a movie because of the fact that it has impact, but yet also conveys emotion. I think this was a great final song. I really do. Really think it's good. It plays to a lot of things that we know about Mrs. Green Apple, but presents them in a new way that I don't think any other song on this album did. So it's great to be 17 songs deep on the final track and hear a song that's genuinely different from anything we've heard before in all of the important ways to make it justify its own existence. And that's kind of what you want on an album. I know albums often have filler tracks, but you want every song to at least justify its own existence. Now, I really enjoyed this. I'm considering giving a sort of final thoughts, maybe a review of the album. I would need to, obviously I've done this track by track over a very long period of time. I would need to go back and listen to the album in fullness as single sit listens, which I'm looking forward to doing now. And just sort of play it around, sort of when I go out walking, jogging, shopping, I'll be playing it, maybe have a sit down, listen to it at some point if I get some time. Yeah, I'm going to enjoy the album a little bit more and before I start giving final thoughts, but I really enjoy this, and of course I'm interested to maybe listen to more Mrs. Green Apple out, maybe albums as well. If you want to suggest another album I should listen to. This, I picked this one because I felt that this would maybe be, just based on the era, that it might be my favourite one by them. So I did kind of handpick myself into a corner here because I would suspect from the evidence I have that this would be my favourite Mrs. Green Apple album. So I don't know. If you suggest another one, am I going to like it as much? Who knows? But I definitely enjoyed this. This had a lot of qualities to it. Looking forward to hearing what fans say. As I've mentioned a few times in my Discord community, I think Mrs. Green Apple fans so far have been one of the most pleasant fan bases to talk to, because you guys are like super communicative. You give opinions, very supportive. When I say there's things I like and dislike, you guys get in the conversation and have a good talk about it. So it's been a real pleasure sharing this with you guys, and I would definitely be interested to listen to more and discuss more with you. So as always, get in the comments, let me know what you think, and until I hopefully see you very soon in Japan for the next one of these, whatever it may be, wherever it be, and whenever it may be. Nearly said that wrong. For now. Where's the stop button? Ciao, ciao.